Hi, it's Michael, clinical psychologist at Grove Psychology. I'm going to talk today about the anxiety of uncertainty and the need for control and how that can really impact on our lives. And uncertainty is around not knowing the future outcomes. Perhaps we don't know what's going to happen, where we really like control as human beings. And the anxiety comes from a combination of one, not knowing, two, seeing uncertainty as either dangerous or frightening, and maybe also not feeling confident in our abilities to cope with that sense of uncertainty. And if you can imagine our brains like a giant problem-solving machine, it's constantly trying to solve problems. So when we have uncertainty, we have, say, like an algebra equation. We've got all the letters written out, but we don't have any numbers that we can solve the equation. Our brain is just thinking of all the possible potential solutions. And as a result, we're feeling anxious, we're feeling worried, we've got this uncomfortable sensation and a sense of control, which is what we crave as human beings, can give us a sense that we can manage this feeling. But often that can lead to problems. So let me give you an example, probably one that we all know, or we've either been through or we know people have been through, and that's the one of the micromanaging manager. So you're in a situation, your manager's giving you a task to do, and then they are constantly checking in on you, they're doing parts of your role, they want to know exactly what you're doing rather than just allowing you to go off to get the task. Now we tend to see this through our own lens. We will say that we'll think that the manager doesn't trust us. That they think we're not good enough to be doing the job, but it might be coming because the manager has difficulty tolerating uncertainty, and so they've given the task to their staff, but now are dealt with the uncomfortable feeling that what if the staff don't do it in time? What if they don't do it to a standard that they need to be doing, or that the manager hopes they're doing, and what that might mean then for them, what will other people think of the manager if the task isn't done to an appropriate standard or in time? So they've got all this uncomfortability, they're feeling out of control. So a way of gaining control is to micromanage. They're calling the customer when they don't need to. They're checking in, they're calling constant meetings. They're having a look at the data. They're asking you really deep questions that perhaps they don't need to know, or they're not relevant because they're trying to gain control. So that's probably an example that I think most people can recognize. And this sense of uncomfortability with uncertainty, remembering that we like to know what's happening as human beings, can lead us to make impulsive decisions. So the impulsivity comes from a desire to get rid of this uncomfortable feeling. We don't like it, we don't like the thoughts that are associated with it, so we make a decision that perhaps gets rid of the anxiety in the meantime, but causes problems in the long term. So if we think about our micromanaging manager, they're solving one problem, getting rid of this tension within themselves by constantly checking in, calling customers, doing things that are getting in the way, but they're causing another problem. They've got dissatisfied staff, they're creating extra workload for themselves, the staff morale is going down, there's confusion because maybe the customer doesn't know who they're talking to, etc., etc., etc. So we're solving one problem, but we're creating another. And that's often because we're trying to get rid of this uncomfortable feeling rather than learning to make room for the uncomfortable feeling. So here's a potential solution, or ways that we can try and manage this uncomfortability, remembering that we're not trying to get rid of it because things are uncertain. We don't know how things are going to plan out. And just so we're really clear, it usually comes because it's important to us in some way, right? So we can think about the 3 N's: noticing, naming, normalizing. So I'm noticing this uncomfortable feeling in my body, and I'm naming it as anxiety. I'm having this anxiety, I'm worrying about whether my staff are going to get this job done in time. Or I'm worrying whether that person has received my email. And then I'm normalizing. Because this task is so important to me, It's understandable that I'm feeling anxious about it. Or other people in my situation who are waiting for this home loan approval would also be feeling anxious to know if the bank has received their email. So we could act on that anxiety, send off 10 emails, constantly call, have you received my email? How's it going? How's the application going, etc. If we're using that as an example, that home loan as an example. Or we can learn to make room for this. So the 3 N's allows us to recognize what is going on rather than just acting impulsively. Then we can make a decision. Do we really want to act on this or not? We're taking a step back. You can also do a technique of diffusing, which is really essentially thinking about the fact that we're thinking. I'm having the thought that my email might not have been received yet. And that's an example. I'm noticing my thoughts. I'm thinking this thought. And now I'm taking one step away from it. So I'm diffusing from it, right? So this is another way that we can try and manage it. And essentially what we're trying to do is not get rid of the anxiety, because this is a task that perhaps is important to us. It comes with a lot of uncertainty. We're not sure if it's going to work. So we're making room for it. And if we go back to our equation example, what we're trying to wait for is the numbers to appear so we can solve the problem. So we can tell our brain, I don't have all the information yet. I can't quite solve this problem, so I'm going to have to wait. Because your brain is going to be thinking about all the potential solutions and giving you lots and lots of different ideas. And that might lead to those impulsive decisions where you act on something that creates a bigger problem later on. So the third example is about identifying what's in our control, what's not in our control. And this can be really helpful for making room for this uncomfortable feeling without acting on impulsivity to get rid of it, right? So let's think about, say, a work situation. The things that are within our control are our abilities, our actions and reactions, the way we want to behave as a human being. So I can go to a meeting prepared and on time. That's within my control. What's not in my control is the outcome of that meeting. Maybe the customer I'm meeting with doesn't want to buy the product that we're trying to sell. Or maybe the manager in the meeting makes a decision that I don't necessarily agree with. But what's within my control is that I can present all the right facts that I want to present in a coherent way because I prepared for that meeting. I've got that in my control. So when we identify what's within our control and how we want to behave and how we want to react, they're the things we can work on. Things outside our control, the outcome of that, how other people respond to us, how other people think about us, not within our control, we can let those things go. And we can work on what can I focus on that's going to help me in this moment. Okay, so I hope that those things have been helpful for you in terms of dealing with uncertainty and trying not to fall into this trap of I have to gain control in order to get rid of this feeling, but I can make room for the uncomfortable feeling. Okay, take care, bye.